Before the world was connected, before ships crossed oceans, before empires knew each other existed, there was silence between civilizations. In the East, China thrived in isolation. In the West, Rome ruled with unmatched power. Between them, a vast, deadly unknown. Deserts that swallowed men whole. Mountains that pierced the sky. Bandits, storms, and endless emptiness. And yet, against all odds, a single idea would change everything. A road. Not made of stone, but of risk, ambition, and survival. This was the beginning of the Silk Road. In ancient China, there was a secret so valuable, it was worth more than gold. Silk. Soft, shimmering, almost magical. It flowed like water and felt like nothing else on earth. The Chinese guarded it fiercely. Anyone caught revealing its secrets was executed. But demand was unstoppable. Far beyond China's borders, kings, emperors, and elites became obsessed. They didn't just want silk, they needed it. And that demand would force the world to connect. The journey began with a man, a messenger sent by the Chinese emperor. His mission? Explore the unknown West. What he found would change history forever. Endless deserts, hostile tribes, deadly terrain. He was captured, imprisoned for years. But he survived. And when he returned, he brought something more valuable than treasure. Knowledge. There were civilizations beyond China, powerful ones, and they wanted trade. The Silk Road had just been born. This was no ordinary road. There were no signs, no protection, no mercy, only danger. Merchants risked everything. Bandits waited in the shadows. Sandstorms erased entire caravans. Mountains froze travelers to death. And yet, they kept going. Because what lay at the end was worth it. Silk, spices, gold, power. The Silk Road wasn't just trade, it was survival. In a small desert town where the wind carried dust through narrow streets, a boy dreamed of something more. His name was Hassan. Born into a family of traders, he grew up listening to stories. Stories of golden cities, of silk so fine it shimmered like water, of roads that stretched beyond the edge of the world. But these weren't just stories. They were invitations. And one day, Hassan would answer. Years passed. The boy became a man. And the dream became a decision. Hassan would join a caravan, not knowing if he would return. Preparation was everything. Water, spices, cloth, protection. Because once you stepped onto the Silk Road, there was no turning back. At dawn, they moved. Dozens of camels, loaded with goods worth fortunes. Men from different lands, speaking different tongues, but united by one goal. Trade. The caravan stretched across the horizon, a moving lifeline across a dead world. For Hassan, this was the moment. The road had begun. Then came the desert. Endless, silent, unforgiving. The Taklamakan Desert. A place known by one terrifying rule. You go in, but you don't come out. Days turned into weeks. Water ran low. Heat burned the skin. The wind whispered like ghosts. And sometimes, the desert took its price. Just when hope began to fade, life appeared. An oasis. Water. Palm trees. Shade. But more than that, connection. These were the Silk Road's hidden gems, where traders met, stories were exchanged, and cultures collided. For Hassan, it was the first glimpse of a world far bigger than his own. Then they saw it, rising from the dust like a dream. Samarkand, one of the greatest cities on Earth, a crossroads of civilizations. Here, East met West. Silk from China, glass from Rome, spices from India. Everything passed through here. And for Hassan, this was just the beginning. The Silk Road wasn't just about goods. It was about power. Empires rose because of it. Cities thrived because of it. Control the Silk Road, and you controlled wealth. From China's Han Dynasty to the mighty Roman Empire, everyone wanted a piece. And the road kept growing. But something unexpected happened. Trade brought more than goods. It brought ideas. Languages mixed, art evolved, beliefs traveled. Buddhism spread from India. Islam expanded across lands. Knowledge moved like never before. The Silk Road didn't just connect places, it connected people. The Silk Road was no longer a fragile thread between distant lands. It had grown into something far greater, a network of routes stretching across continents, binding empires together in ways never seen before. In the East, the Han Dynasty extended its influence beyond its borders, securing passage through dangerous territories. In the West, the Roman Empire developed an insatiable appetite for luxury, silk, spices, and rare goods that symbolized status and power. Between them, kingdoms rose along the route, thriving on the constant movement of merchants, caravans, and ideas. Fortified outposts appeared along key passages. Soldiers guarded valuable crossings. Taxes were imposed on goods that passed through. Trade brought prosperity, but it also brought tension. Control of the Silk Road meant control of wealth itself, and that was something no empire was willing to give up. For travelers like Hassan, the road had become more structured, but no less dangerous. From the vast grasslands of Central Asia, a new force emerged. The Mongols, masters of speed, discipline, and warfare. Under the leadership of Genghis Khan, they expanded with unmatched intensity, sweeping across Asia and beyond. Cities that resisted faced destruction. Those that surrendered were absorbed into a growing empire. Within decades, the Mongols controlled one of the largest empires in human history. And at its heart lay the Silk Road. But instead of dismantling it, they transformed it. Trade routes were secure, banditry was reduced, communication improved across vast distances. For the first time, a merchant could travel from East Asia to the Mediterranean under a single political authority. Goods flowed more freely than ever before. Silk, porcelain, spices, metals, and alongside them, ideas, technologies, and cultures moved across continents. Under Mongol rule, the Silk Road entered a period of stability and expansion. Yet beneath that stability lay the quiet awareness that such unity could never last forever. For Hassan, the Silk Road had become more than a journey. It was a life. He had crossed deserts, climbed mountain passes, and walked through cities filled with unfamiliar faces. Along the way, he had built something rare in such a harsh world: trust. Among fellow traders, bonds formed through shared hardship. Meals were shared under open skies. Stories were exchanged by firelight. In a land where survival was never guaranteed, companionship became its own kind of wealth. But the Silk Road was a place of uncertainty, and trust could be fragile. One night, beneath a sky scattered with stars, the caravan rested in silence. The air was still. The fires burned low. And then, everything changed. When Hassan awoke, the camp was no longer whole. His goods were gone. His camels had vanished. The men he had trusted had disappeared into the night. What remained was silence, and the realization that he had been left behind, alone in the vast emptiness, with no supplies, no protection, only the endless road before him. The Silk Road carried more than goods. It carried movement, constant, uninterrupted movement between distant lands. And within that movement, something unseen began to travel. At first, it was subtle: a fever, a cough, a sense of unease. Nothing that would raise alarm. But slowly, it spread. From one caravan to another, from one city to the next. Invisible, yet unstoppable. What began as isolated illness soon became something far more devastating: the Black Death, a plague that would alter the course of history. Entire communities were affected. Cities that once thrived on trade fell into silence. Markets emptied. Caravans slowed. Fear replaced ambition. The very network that had connected the world now carried destruction across it. The Silk Road, once a symbol of exchange and prosperity, had become a pathway for one of humanity's greatest tragedies. The desert does not forgive. It does not care who you are or how far you've come. For Hassan, the journey had changed. No longer part of a caravan, no longer protected by numbers. He was alone. The wind erased footprints behind him. The sun burned above without mercy. Each step forward became a question. How much further could he go? Water was scarce. Food nearly gone. Time stretched endlessly across the horizon. And yet, he continued. because stopping meant disappear. In that silence, something shifted. The road was no longer about wealth or trade or ambition. It became something deeper, survival. And in that struggle, Hassan discovered something unexpected: resilience. For centuries, Silk Road had connected the world, carrying goods across continents, ideas across cultures, dreams across generations. No road lasts forever. Repairs and weakening. The world once created under love and rule slowly faded. Trade routes became unstable. Conflicts returned. Protection disappeared. Then new paths emerged. Across the seas, safer, faster, more efficient. Ships replaced caravans. Ports replaced desert cities. The Silk Road began to fade. One by one, the great trading centers fell silent. Markets that once echoed with voices from distant lands now stood empty. The road that had shaped civilizations was slowly forgotten. As the land routes declined, the oceans opened. New technologies allowed ships to travel farther than ever before. Navigators charted unknown waters. Explorers searched for faster connections between East and West. The age of maritime trade had begun. Sea routes connected continents in ways the Silk Road never could. Larger cargo, shorter time, lower risk. The balance of power shifted. From deserts and caravans to oceans and fleets. And just like that, the world moved on. The Silk Road may have faded, but its impact never did. It changed the world. It connected civilizations that once lived in isolation. It allowed ideas, cultures, and knowledge to move freely across continents. It shaped economies. It influenced religions. It transformed societies. And even today, its echoes remain in the languages we speak, in the cultures we inherit, in the global connections we often take for granted. As for Hassan, his journey became one of many. A single life on a road that carried millions. His struggles, his losses, his survival, all part of something far greater than himself. Because the Silk Road was never just a road. It was a bridge between worlds, between people, between past and future. And though the caravans are gone, connection remains. Every road tells a story. This one changed the world.